Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to part 14 of my Claude Chabrol season. And today we're going to look at 1975's Innocence with Dirty Hands. This is the film he did after Pleasure Party, which, if you watched my previous video, it's a good film, but the lead character in it just drove me up the wall because he was such a horrible person. So in Innocence with Dirty Hands, which was written by Chabrol, his last film, Pleasure Party, wasn't written by him. We're back in the familiar territory of love triangles, murder, deceit, and satires of the middle classes. So this film stars Romy Schneider and Rod Steiger, bizarrely. There are moments where Rod Steiger seems to be speaking French, and other moments where he's obviously dubbed. Rod Steiger is one of those actors that has never seen a bit of scenery that he doesn't want to nibble on. And there are times in this where he does help himself to some scenery. There's a wonderful moment where he just starts laughing hysterically, and a character asks him what you're laughing at, or why you're laughing. And then he just suddenly stops and says, "Why not?" But on the whole, he's fairly held in check. Well, for Rod Steiger anyway. So again, this is a simple story that gets quite complicated. Steiger lives with his 18-year younger wife, played by Romy Schneider. The kind of first scene of the film in the titles features a red kite, which is being flown by a young man, and it lands on Romy Schneider's bare bottom in her garden as she's doing some nude sunbathing. And the kite belongs to this young man who happens to be a neighbour, who is a writer, who lives a couple of houses down. And again, this being another Chabrol kind of look at the upper middle class, who are generally just bored and dissatisfied. So it's another lush house, really stylish house. So Romy Schneider is taken with this young man, and they they do have an affair, and then they come up with the idea of killing Rod Steiger so they can live off the money. So far, so straightforward. Kind of, we're in Chabrol familiar territory. And then they arrange one night to bump off Steiger, and Romy Schneider hits him over the head while he's in bed, and then we find out later that his boat has been found with nobody on it, and they come up with this alibi that the lover has borrowed their car and he's away to Italy. And then it turns out that the sports car that the lover borrowed, that turns up crashed with no body in it. So the police begin to suspect Romy Schneider of killing her husband with the help of this guy who has then disappeared. That's as far as I'm going to go with the plot, because like I said, it does kind of get a little bit complicated, as you can probably guess. People may or may not be dead. It turns out that before her husband disappeared, he emptied the bank accounts, because she goes to try and empty the bank account herself, and Rod Steiger's character has already done it, and he's only left 92 francs in the account and taken several millions of francs out. He's also put the house up for sale, so she's actually got no money, and she's also facing being thrown out of the house as well. Again, it all kind of kicks off. People disappear, people reappear. At the end, she perhaps gets what she wants, but not necessarily in the way she would like. After just the annoyance of his last film, this one is a lot of fun once it gets going, and the last half an hour is quite amusing. Unusually, this one doesn't have any score apart from the last moments. It's a fairly quiet film. Chabrol kind of uses a more static camera than we're used to. There's no kind of technical flourishes that we've seen in his earlier work. He made this and Pleasure Party in the same year, 1975. This is the much more entertaining film. And again, you just get this sense of people being bored with their lives, even though they seem to have a lot. Romy Schneider, who's 18 years younger than Rod Steiger, they don't really sleep together for one reason or another. She's dissatisfied. He's dissatisfied because he can't kind of satisfy her. So it's just this undercurrent of, yes, we're rich. Yes, we have a beautiful house we don't want for anything, but still we're unsatisfied with our lives. I mean, normal people would generally just get divorced or whatever, but obviously this is France and this is Chabrol, so people tend to plot to kill each other. There's nice business with a defence lawyer who brings a lot of kind of comic relief to it. The two kind of comic actors that started with Chabrol from the start, they appear as cops. They're kind of the only two familiar faces with Chabrol from the past. And again, they bring a little bit of levity to what is quite a somber film. It doesn't have that kind of pizzazz of some of his earlier work. Again, maybe this is him after Pleasure Party trying to go back to what he's familiar with. You could argue perhaps we've seen this kind of film before in his earlier work. But it's still an interesting little film in his canon. Again, I think this is from Arrow Video Collection number 2, the box set, which again, if you can find it, I would recommend it, because again, we'll bang that old drum. His films just aren't really available in Blu-ray, apart from the 2 early ones that are on Criterion. So again, perhaps not the best Chabrol, but certainly well worth checking out, especially if you're a Rod Steiger fan, because it is a surprise to see him turn up and give another suitably moving and subtle performance, very nuanced, as Rod Steiger is prone to do. So thank you very much for watching episode 14. We're getting through them. Please let me know in the comments below if you've seen Innocents with Dirty Hands. Again, the title is obviously sarcastic, because I suppose in some level they're innocent, but on other levels the 3 main characters aren't. Neither are some of the other characters on the periphery. Yeah, so please let me know if you've seen Innocent with Dirty Hands before, and let me know what you thought of it. And hopefully we'll see you again for part 15 of Claude Chabrol. This is Solitude Ronin, Solitude Ronin Films, saying thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again.